Hey everybody, welcome to Dominion Cards, the video series where we take a strategic, in-depth look at various cards from the board game Dominion. Today we're looking at Quarry. This is a 4-cost treasure card from Prosperity, and it gives +1 coin. Then it has a below-the-line effect that says, while this is in play, action cards cost 2 less. So, Quarry offers you a very large cost reduction, but it only does it for action cards. If you're planning to not buy an action card, then this is basically a copper, right? It's only going to give you 1 coin. Now, the fact that this is a treasure card makes it hard for action cards to take advantage of it, because usually you're only going to get that cost reduction in the buy phase. So this means stuff like Workshop can't be used with this cost reduction, like other sources like Bridge can, to gain more expensive cards. This means you're pretty much most of the time going to be using Quarry to buy action cards. If that's your plan, that's what Quarry is really going to help you do. Now, a lot of people like to look at Quarry and think early games that it's sort of a little bit like buying a gold instead of a silver. If you think about the 1 coin that it gives plus the 2 cost reduction, that's contributing 3 coins worth of value towards buying an action card. Typically, people will buy a silver right at the start of the game because they want to hit 5 after the first shuffle, or even 6. That is because they got some high priority card, like something like Sentry to trash with, for example. But with Quarry, you can also go for other, even more expensive cards like Artisan or Altar, and it can be, there's a bit of randomness involved, but you got a much better chance than opening silver to do that. And getting an Altar on turn 3 or 4 or whatever, or even an Artisan, that can be very, very strong. So Quarry, even if you weren't planning to do much more with it, this can be pretty good, just because you're getting quite a lot of value there, just from the 1 card, to spike this high price point early. But really, Quarry is mostly going to be used for buying many action cards, and it should be clear that it's going to benefit from getting a lot of sources of plus buy. We know from cards like Bridge in general that cost reduction is very good with a plus buy. So if you don't have any plus buy available, then in general your kingdom is actually going to tend away from building an engine because it's too slow generally, and that the actual eventual payoff of your engine is limited to 1 province per turn, and so you're going to end up with a single province deck that usually just wants treasures. And so this contributes even further to the fact that you probably don't want Quarry in this sort of situation, and Quarry is going to be worse than a silver long term in this scenario. So for the most part, I would say Quarry, if there's no plus buy, then it's probably going to be pretty bad, actually, because you don't really want to be spending a lot of your buys on action cards, because you have to shift towards getting the good treasures and the provinces a lot earlier than you would otherwise. Now, when you do start adding plus buy to Quarry, it should be clear that you start to get some pretty good value out of it early on. So when you're buying action cards on discount, as we said before, this is a little bit like when you buy your first one, that Quarry was like a gold in value, right, giving you 3 coins worth of value towards 1 card. But if you buy multiple action cards, then that 2 cost reduction is providing you effectively even more value. So if you think about, you buy 2 action cards on a turn, and you've taken advantage of that 2 cost discount on both cards. Quarry was sort of giving you the equivalent of 5 money. That's platinum value, and Quarry only cost 4, right? Well, that's nuts, and it can be even better than that as well. You buy 3 action cards, you get 7 money worth of value, which is just, huge, huge amounts of value from Quarry. So just more reason to hammer home the point that you really, really need a source of plus buy if you're going to be playing around with Quarry. Now, what about other forms of money? As we said before, Quarry is kind of like a copper when buying anything else other than action cards. And something that can happen a lot with Quarry is that because you're getting so much value and it's so easy to buy action cards right at the start of the game, you're going to do the usual thing where you trash all of your starting cards, especially the coppers, and you're going to be using a Quarry or a pair of Quarries, or maybe even 3 of them, in order to buy lots and lots of action cards, basically without having to worry about money at all. Right, you can get most of the action cards you need down to costing 1 or even 0, And, who cares about money, really, at that point? Just buy whatever you need, as long as you got the buys for it. But the problem is that in most games that you play, at some point you're going to need to shift over to starting to buy, at the very least, victory cards. Maybe you can get away without buying treasures, but you got to score points, right? So the problem is that where you're going to get that money from? Well, sometimes you get it from the action cards directly, but sometimes there just is no good source of money to come from action cards, and you're going to actually need to make sure that you have enough money in your deck to start buying other things like other treasures and victory cards. For this purpose, I find it can be better to plan to just keep some of your coppers around so that when you do need the money, there actually is some left, and sometimes it's just easier to not trash the coppers, because there's always a cost at some point with trashing things. Like, how thin do you really need to be? Like, if you can buy action cards en masse very easily, you're probably going to get a lot of draw, I hope. Hopefully there's cards like that. So maybe it's okay to just keep some coppers around. But remember that if you're in a situation where you are buying action cards at no cost and you basically have no money, and you're gaining a lot of plus buy in order to get all those action cards, well, when you're in a situation where you've hopefully got a lot of engine pieces and you've also got all this buy hanging around but no money, it's not the worst thing in the world to just buy your coppers back again. It's something that I guess gets drilled into you, is that copper's really, really bad, and it is, and so you're always scared to buy it. But I've actually found use with Quarry at some point to maybe just buy some coppers back in order to get my economy back to a state where I can start shifting into buying victory cards eventually. It is very efficient in terms of draw space, so it's all very kingdom dependent. But I do want to say, don't be scared. You do whatever it takes, basically, to get back to buying victory cards. And, why is all this important? Why am I hammering on about this quite a lot? Well, in my experience, Quarry is very, very good at getting you 3-pile endings, because usually if you can buy lots and lots of action cards basically for free, there's a lot of action card piles usually that you just want as many as you can get. It means piles can run out very fast, especially if there's a way to just start getting buys, and a lot of them very quickly. And it's an easy trap to fall into with Quarry, that you position yourself in a situation where a 3-pile is threatened and you basically have no counter to it because you haven't got any money. You don't want to be in a situation where it's going to take you a long time to start building back up to starting to buy provinces, or you just you end up with an opponent who just buys a province and then just drains the rest of the action card piles that you've lowered with all of your mass action card buying. Quarry's inability to score towards the end of the game and needing you to shift into something else is actually its largest drawback. And it's really important, I find, that you keep this in mind with Quarry so that you can prepare for this in advance and don't get caught out basically getting the game bought out under you with 3-pile ending. This is why I go so far as to even suggest wildly that maybe consider buying coppers if you desperately need to get your money back, because it's very easy to fall for this sort of position, I find. When I was learning with Quarry a lot, I just kept losing 3-pile endings all the time with it because of this. You just get so used to just buying all your action cards for free, but you got to do something else at some point. So here's just a slide with a bunch of cards which I consider notable interactions. There are of course way more than this, but it's boring to go through long lists of cards, so I'm just going to mention some here. So on the top row we got 4 cards that are very, very classic action cards that love cost reduction. So Villa and Cavalry, particularly if you've got a pair of Quarries in play, these cards are free, and when you buy one you immediately get your buy back again, so you can instantly drain these piles as soon as you get 2 Quarries in play, which is nuts. And similarly Forum, if you get 2 of these, each Forum only costs 1 and no buys, and if you get 3 Quarries in play, you just gain all of the Forums immediately. So this contributes even further, these cards, to Quarry's ability to rapidly 3-pile on new action cards. Stonemason is another example. Just playing 1 Quarry, the Stonemason itself is free and you don't have to overpay as much for other cards. It is worth noting that you do have to be very careful to not make sure that the other cards you want also cost 0. So if you have 2 quarries in play, you can get 2 5-cost cards for 1 coin and 1 buy with Stonemason. But if you played 3 quarries, you wouldn't actually be able to use Stonemason anymore to get 5-cost cards because they cost 0, and you can't overpay 0 when you buy a card. But yeah, so those top 4 are just like classic cost reduction auto piles, or things that drain piles exceptionally fast, and it's just something to watch out for with Quarry. The fact they're all action cards helps a lot. Now, Cantrip Thorns of plus buy are of course very good with Quarry, and there's a lot of them out there, but I did want to call out specifically Grand Market, just because A, it's in the same expansion as Quarry, but B, because it likes Quarry in particular because of how you can't use coppers to buy it. If you have a pair of quarries, just those 2 quarries on their own are enough to buy a Grand Market. You know, you drop its cost to 2, and then the 2 quarries give you 2 coins. Then each Grand Market you add is giving you a buy and 2 coins. So that's enough on its own then to buy you another Grand Market next turn. So you have 1, and then you buy 2 more next turn, and you have 3, and then you buy 3 more next turn, or 4 more, sorry, and you've already got like 7 of the Grand Markets in 3 turns, right? Like, you get the Grand Markets very fast, and you build up. And of course, it's an action source of money, which is really nice for Quarry because that gets you the money that you need to like start buying provinces and so on. Talisman, that's also in Prosperity, is worth a shout out just because by reducing the cost of action cards to less than 4, Talisman doubles up. So this is just even more nuts for emptying piles very fast if you've got a Sorcerer's Buy, because even the expensive 5-cost action cards, you just start getting multiple copies very quickly with Talisman. And lastly, I just wanted to talk about Enhance. So normally remodelers struggle a bit with Quarry because it's only playable in the buy phase under most circumstances. And Enhance is like a remodel that otherwise struggles to remodel things because it can't remodel your estates. And if you try and remodel your coppers, you can only get 2-cost cards. But Quarry's massively rapid cost reduction lets you start enhancing coppers into very good things. Right, just play 1 Quarry, you can enhance coppers into a 4-cost, which is actually really good value. So like Enhance is benefited quite a lot by Quarry in particular, I find. Now, there are other things about Quarry that I haven't mentioned in these slides that I have mentioned in other videos. So for example, it says while this is in play, which means that if you trash Quarry with something like Counterfeit, well, it doesn't give you the cost reduction anymore. But, I've talked about these things in the other treasure videos we've done in Prosperity, like how you can use Storyteller to play it, or Black Market, during your action phase, and then you do get the usual remodel tricks and so on. But I don't really want to just cover them every time, so I'll just mention them here quickly off the cuff. But to summarise Quarry in general, so this is a top 30% card according to the latest community rankings. This is because cost reduction in general is a very powerful effect, very, very strong to just drastically drop the cost of cards. And, Quarry is a double cost reducer, which is very, very strong indeed. It's a lot of cost reduction that you get from Quarry. However, by only reducing the cost of action cards, and usually only in the buy phase, because it's a treasure, it does miss out on a lot of other cost reduction synergies that you get, including the mega turn power of like Bridge to just end the game by buying out every province at once. It doesn't do stuff like that, so it's a lot more restricted, but it's still pretty powerful despite these restrictions. Now, it's very important that you consider how you're going to be scoring when you're building a deck with Quarry in advance of actually getting there because of the rapid 3-pile concerns and how the game can just be sniped out from under you with that. And, of course, the main point, you need sources of plus buy in order to get most of the value out of Quarry. Otherwise, it's just a temporary cheap gold that you can't even use later on in the game. It just turns into a copper, which is a lot worse. So that's it for Quarry. Now what we're going to do is we're going to head over to the online client. We're going to generate some random kingdoms, which include Quarry, and we're going to see how well it does. Now before we get there, I tried very hard to get this video out before Prosperity 2nd edition came out, but I didn't know when it was going to be, and as it turns out, it came out today. I just wasn't able to get this video out in the weekend. So what I'm going to do is, like last time, I've disabled Seaside for now because there's all these new cards I don't want to talk about yet. But also I've going to include my ban list, and I've stuck the 3 new cards that came out today on the ban list just so they don't show up. And that's just so that this random kingdom analysis, I'm not confused about these new cards, right? I want to just focus on Quarry instead. So that's what we're going to do. So let's see, there's no colonies in this game. So we have Masquerade for trashing, I noticed straight away. We've got Remodel and Replace as well. So Masquerade's pretty good. Remodeling, probably not going to be so good straight away, but we'll see if something else is better for it. We've got Ironworks to gain things. What can that gain? Not very much, only really Masquerade, unfortunately, and Remodel, so Ironworks pretty bad, and Silver, I guess. We do have plus buy for Quarry, we've got Festival, but we also have City long-term as well. What do we have for draw? There's Apprentice, there's City, and there's Minion as well, so we could get a Minion deck going. How good is that? Well, we can buy them very quickly with Quarry, I suppose, but you need festivals, and it's really nice to have a way to draw all of those festivals, and I think Minion does the job there. We can even use Apprentice. Normally that struggles a bit with cost reduction, but Quarry, of course, gives us the cost reduction in the buy phase, so that doesn't worry. The main problem is that Quarry's a treasure, and that does pretty badly with Minion. Minion struggles to play treasures. So instead, the other draw is Masquerade, but with Festival, that's not really draw. But there is City as well, but they're all very expensive. I think opening Quarry Masquerade is probably good, and, you know, how good is Minion? Maybe I get some, but it would be really nice to instead pile out all the festivals and turn the cities on into Lost Cities and then grab a lot of them, which you can do with Quarry. Late game, we do have Horde, which will get you gold, which can be replaced into provinces, or you can apprentice them if you really need draw. The draw otherwise isn't great. I don't know how good Minion is, but actually getting an attack off with Minion is quite nice because there's Masquerade as well to lower the hand size, but seems difficult to build Minion into a deck where you want to be drawing with Masquerade or City otherwise. So, but I think Quarry's actually very good here. You know, you do have action money with Festival and eventually maybe City. You could do stuff with Horde to get like an end game replace stuff out. There's also Minion for action card money as well. So like Quarry just seems very, very good, especially combined with Masquerade to get thin pretty quick on its own. And I think I am going to be trying to grab a lot of festivals and then shift to cities. I think that's probably the best thing. But yeah, Quarry I'm getting, maybe I get 2 of them here, honestly. That's probably fine. I think with Masquerade we'll actually have early on enough coins, and because Festival's giving us money, that we probably only really need 1 Quarry, actually. Like, I don't know if we really need that much more. Yeah, so I won't assess this any further, but I will say Quarry looks pretty good on this kingdom, I think. Then it's a question of how you build after that, but I think I open Quarry there for sure. So another game without Colony Platinum, but I do see that there's Potion, and that's because there's Philosopher's Stone, and that's it. Okay, well, highly likely we won't be using that, but let's see. So we got Sentry and Moneylender to trash, which are both decent. We got Quarry and Talisman combo, I notice. However, Sentry is the only... Sentry and Gold are the only things that Talisman doubles that don't cost 4. It's the only 5 cost, and of course I guess you can't reduce... Oh no, there's Bridge, so you could actually reduce the cost of anything here. Honestly, Quarry doesn't seem great. I would rather play Bridges, but having said that, there's no village, I just noticed, in this kingdom. So this kingdom's really poor. What do you do in this case? Like, let's say you thin with Sentry, well, so what? What are you planning to play? Well, the only action cards that give plus action are Sentry and Cellar. So is the Vassal deck even any good? Probably not, he says. I mean, I guess it's okay. But, like, what's better? Do I open Moneylender, get a sentry, and then just kind of hope I get to trash the Moneylender later? Probably. I would ideally like to play... Would it really be one bridge? Would I prefer an estate? It's going to be hard to get an estate and a baron together at some point, especially if I go like vassal sentry. That really does feel like the best thing. Like, I don't feel like there's any sort of money enabler here. There's bureaucrat, but who cares? And I think I'm just going to be trashing all my estates with sentry anyway, and like never drawing them, so that's not really a threat. And like a bunch of silvers feels pretty bad here. Vassal sentry, a cellar or two, maybe you get one bridge, which is okay, I suppose, as like your ultimate payload. That's really what I'm going for. I think I open money in first. I think I just ignore Quarry here. I don't think it's good enough. Even though I'm building like an action card deck, I don't really care for Quarry. I should have enough money as it is with like trying to build a vassal thing. I don't really like the vassal thing that much, but I think with Cellar, you get to like save your hand from like mass vassal collision at least a little bit, and it probably could work out, but it seems tough, honestly. Yeah, I guess you only really plant a single province and you just hope you get lucky with bridge, maybe. But I think Quarry's skippable here. This is a tough kingdom to build. Philosopher's Stone does not look like the way to go, honestly. Bureaucrat Philosopher's Stone is a choice, but it feels bad, you know. No colony again, man. Even without Seaside, I'm not seeing these colony platinums. So here, what have we got? We've got Forge to get thin, but there's also Moneylender and Bishop. So there's quite a lot of trashing. We got Workers' Village as a village, and there's Draw with Patrol only, I think. And then there's Courtier, which has absolutely nothing to go off of by the looks of it. Yeah. So we got a lot of plus buy. We've got Quarry with Talisman, which is very good for getting lots of cards. And there's Vineyard as well. So we can get a huge number of actions, and then there's Vineyard to score a lot of points. That's really important, because what that means is that we don't need money to score, right? We need at least enough money to buy Potion, but we can get one Quarry, I think is all we need, or maybe like two is fine, and Workers' Villages and a Talisman, and we can just drain piles en masse here very easily. We can get so many Workers' Villages and Patrols, and then there's also like Monuments if you want them as well. Like, you've got enough villages, you can just get them for extra points, but maybe none of that matters, because what we really need to do is shift into buying potions. It's hard to get multiple potions, and then we just start snapping at vineyards. We've got to do that very quickly. Of course, before we do all that as well, we do really want to get thin. Moneylender seems good enough, and if we get up to Forge, that's fine, right? We can use Forge to turn estates into like more 4-cost cards, maybe. Trash 2 of them at once, or even a gold. I guess it's fine, because we need to. The big slowdown here is getting the potions, but they seem absolutely critical, because Vineyard just goes off the rails here, right? Like, does it really? Well, what have we got? I mean, Workers' Village Patrol, we get a lot of them, and then we just 3-pile with a bunch of points. Yeah, I think that's definitely the best. Like, we only really want Quarries and Talismans as our only treasures here. That seems like the important bit. The Bishop, I don't know, man. I just don't think other things beat Vineyard for points. Doesn't seem good enough to me. There is Monument, probably better than Bishop, really, if you want points, I think. I don't know. Anyway, game ends pretty fast. Vineyard's very important, I think. I think you open Quarry, and I mean, it has to be silver, right? There's nothing that costs 3. Almost every card costs 4. No, or do you open Moneylender? I think Moneylender's probably better than Quarry, because we're not hitting Forge anyway. And then we just buy like Quarry and then another Quarry with Moneylender, and then we hope to get up to like Forge, or we just start buying Workers' Villages en masse, I guess. Hoping we can get up to Forge at some point. If we collide our 2 Quarries, we get to Forge, and that's easier as we start trashing. But do we even need Forge, though, really? I mean, we just get Patrol and Workers' Villages, right, as we thin with Moneylender. Maybe we don't care about Forge. I'm talking nonsense, probably. You can certainly use Forge to turn something like your Moneylender into a potion, which is a nice way to get started as well. So, yeah, anyway, Quarry seems very good here, and there is the Talisman combo as well, and Vineyard, just to make action cards even more overpowered than they normally are. So here is Kingdom 4. Again, no colony. We're never seeing it. What have we got? Is there a village? There is only diplomat. Okay. Is there any plus buy? No, there isn't. So what do we do without plus buy? I think Quarry's no use here, looking at it. Like, what value is Quarry? Not much, really. There is upgrade to get thin. There's also mine for trashing, I guess. But there's... Well, upgrade diplomat. You can certainly use diplomat as a village. You can then draw with like library, but there's laboratory as well. Workshop gains you conspirators and diplomats, which is fine, but there's no plus buy, so how many do you want? Quarry just seems completely useless here, honestly. Yeah, I mean, you can build an engine, but how good is it really? Do we really want workshops to gain diplomats and conspirators? Like, is upgrade actually that good for trashing and useful? I mean, what do you upgrade the estates into? Silvers? Harbingers? It doesn't feel that good to me. I almost think this is more big money. Like, this is more of a money deck, honestly. Clearly, we never get transmute. Do I care about trashing coppers? Would I rather get a mine? Like, is this a deck where we go for mine and we just upgrade our treasures and we sort of go like mine, big money? That feels awful with maybe some laboratories. But maybe that's just what we do, right? Like, there's no attack cards to trigger diplomat. You'd have to line up upgrade and diplomat to get a village for some reason. Maybe you don't care at all. Like, I just feel like building doesn't really do much here. So, yeah, I think that's what I do. So, ignore Quarry. There's no plus buy. And it's just, yeah, I mean, it helps you buy laboratories, I guess, but I don't care otherwise. I'd rather have a silver long term. Right, last one, and again, no colony platinum. I swear I left it turned on at random. Let's see. So we've got workers' village and market and council room and city. So we've got buys through the roof here to go with Quarry. So that's very strong. We've got masquerade again for trashing. We've also got trading post and expand, but masquerade is good enough, I think. Expand does not seem necessary here at all, nor does trading post. So we use Quarry, we open masquerade and Quarry, we get like a market, and we start getting like workers' villages, more quarries, and we just start buying markets en masse, workers' villages. Eventually they pile, we start using cities for draw, and then what? So we can drain piles very quickly. We can get a bunch of conspirators for money, but we do actually have to score at some point. So like, this game is exceptionally easy to 3-pile, and there's city threats as well to help you do that, to get like a lot of money. With the masquerade Quarry, you know, we do get thin very fast. Maybe we can use an expand. Like, it's fine. If we spike up to 7, I'm sure I wouldn't mind getting one. Like, it's fine, I suppose. In fact, that would be nice to turn any errant coppers you have into like silvers to prepare for the end game, possibly, but like, you know, conspirators are good enough, I guess. I don't mind having a council room if I need it, but I've got masquerade for draw. Yeah, we just want to amass loads and loads of plus buys to start getting stuff like city to prepare for an instant pile out at any point, basically. And we have to build up money somehow, but Quarry's very good here, basically, because this is just crazy plus buy game, just huge amounts of it, very easy to get, and it's all cantrip plus buy, so just crazy buy. So there you go. So that was Quarry. As you see, it mostly sort of depended at this stage on any plus buy that we had available, and it just sort of went nuts. The talisman Quarry thing showed up twice. Yeah, generally pretty good card, I would say. Very strong. Just got to think about how are you going to score. That's very relevant for like this kingdom that's on the screen right now. You just got to get there early. But you know, you can buy a ton of coppers here actually, and that's actually not that bad with masquerade. You do sort of need some of those protection in a way from that. So yeah. Anyway, I hope this was useful for you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.